Raheem, a healing artist born in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, is son to a preaching father and a singing mother. Raheem's art deals heavily with the heart chakra and matters of heart, feeling, and healing. Raheem's art is a place where mother and father, singing and preaching, art and heart, word and womb, love, and much more meet. Art has led Raheem to a space of knowing that he was conceived in love one day. The ram, Aries, his mother, and the air, Libra, his father, fell in love one day. No matter where she roams, the ram, and no matter where he blows, the air, Raheem was conceived in love one day. Through this portal, Raheem was given the gift of life and the gift of perspective, nurturing, healing, intellect, and analysis, and song to witness it. Raheem invites listeners to ask hard questions, take deep introspective looks at themselves, to continue to engage deeper spaces of true self love. Welcome, Raheem.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I love this bio. I love this bio. I print it out and put it on my wall.
Oh, thank you so much. Oh,
So, in terms of your deep questions, you definitely do invite people to do that on Facebook.
yes.
Sometimes I'm like, oh my goodness, like I don't know. Have you always just been open to what's happening in life and also asking questions and the conversation just open to whatever comes regardless of who sees it? Like for me, I know I don't post stuff on Facebook because I'm like, oh, who's all on my Facebook? And I just don't feel like inviting that. So
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I have always been on a level, but like most skills, it just develops and intensifies and just gets more refined as we, mature. I've always been willing to question the assumptions that we make about the way that we should live on this planet. I remember my father and my stepmother were first, talking about getting married. And so they wanted to have the conversation with the children. So they sat us down and they were like, we're getting married and this is the way God has it. The man is the head of the household, blah, 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 blah. And I remember thinking in my young, underdeveloped mind, my mom, and being a child, my mom was the person that I saw most. So why doesn't she run the house, right? Because like she's the person that does most of the stuff in the house.
mm.
Of course, this is a limited perspective. I didn't understand like working to bring stuff into the house. But I remember asking that question, and my dad was just like, "You'll understand it better by and by." But that's just an example of how I was willing to ask a question about
mm.
how, whereas I think my brother and sisters accepted it. They was like, oh, okay, For me, it was like, well, why is this
Mm.
that way whenever I saw women and the mother doing so much in the house? Why would she be the person that leads the house, right?
Mm.
So as I've grown, I feel like that I've experienced a lot more spaces and places where miscommunication and lack of communication create, I guess you could say tension in the space. And I have found it to be one of my offerings to practice
Mm.
radical honesty and radical vulnerability.
Okay.
To yeah, to be. Is that good enough? I didn't
Yeah.
want to.
So it's just kind of developed, like it's always been in you, it seems like, and then over time you've turned your attention towards what's happening. Like I'm the one that's asking questions, I'm the one that's seeing things different, and then you've put kind of effort towards building that and pulling it out. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because I just feel like that it creates deeper spaces of intimacy when people when because I think that we all on a level want to be seen for exactly who we are and loved.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many different things that we internalize and things that we're reflected as we grow up that make it difficult for us to actually show who we are and trust that we can still be held and loved in that space. And a part of the healing that I want to offer through this is that we can be seen for exactly who we are. We can be sick. We can be resource, insecure. We can have mental health challenges. We could be struggling in other different ways and still be seen and loved and held.
Mm. Okay, so let's talk more about you being a healing artist.
Okay.
I know that you do a lot of that through song.
Mhm.
Can you tell us how else that comes through you? How else you practice that?
I do touch initiatives. I want to create more spaces where people, specifically male identifying, but not exclusively, but specifically male identifying folks, can get touch needs met, because I feel like that as I've grown, I've seen that that's a lack too, where male identifying folks don't really know how to connect with
Mm,
people love, because of the way maleness is constructed and the way maleness is about like not needing another and
mm,
being independent and all of those things. So I do it that way. I also life coach, where I bring in a lot of different art, maybe poetry, songs. A lot of times, I hold space sometimes for people to bring things forward by just playing songs and music and allowing them to bring things to the surface so that we can like actually talk and process through it, right? So that's still using music, but other people's music. And I'm trying to think of, there was one other thing that I want to say as it relates to how I use art and my gifts to actually like do healing work. But yeah, I'll leave it at that for
okay,
now. But yeah,
it'll come back.
yeah.
So, and for people, like, tell us a bit what you mean by touch initiatives. You told us the purpose of it, but like, what does that look like?
So in lay terms, it's called a cuddle party, where I come to the space with three different poses that have been researched to reduce stress, support immunity, to create intimacy and connection, and all of the things that connection and intimacy can do to us to like actually heal our physiological bodies. And
Mm,
then, it's all consent based. So if you just want to come and get healed by watching people love on each other, you can do that. And then we do a cuddle puddle at the end. If you want to, we just like lay around and laugh and sit with each other and touch each other and just love on each other. For people who again have feel like that they experience touch deprivation or have touch needs and connection desire that they can't always get met in their world and in their day to day. So that's what a touch initiative is.
okay, that's really interesting. It sounds necessary, but also, and to be honest with you, it sounds very theater kids. It's that's my first. I'm like, oh, that reminds me of the drama kids in high school. But that aside, like just picturing what that looks like, cuddle paddle. But as you explain the meaning of it, I'm actually like, I can really see how that's very deeply necessary for people, like not being touched. Because I've heard about babies, how, if they've been abandoned at birth or something, if they're not touched, they don't develop properly. And so they have people, I can't remember what they're called. Anyway, they have people in the hospital who go hold them. Right.
Yes, absolutely.
So it
You said
sounds like you're extending this into adulthood.
absolutely, because
Yeah.
there's certain developmental milestones and different ways that we develop as adults that are touch dependent as well. So we
Mm-hmm.
still need just as much touch, and specifically if that's one of the ways that you receive a lot of love is to touch people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that also can play into it. Is like, well, do you receive love in that way, like primarily or tertiarily or secondarily, right? So that can play into the equation. However, just the need to be touched is still paramount for all humans. We still need it.
And it's interesting too because I think it's a cultural thing because in other like we met in Ghana and you know how our culture and a lot of others are still very touchy, like it's not formally organized, but it's just generally accepted.
Absolutely.
And maybe sometimes there's boundaries crossed, but in general, on the good side, like you're touching, people are always touching. You know what I mean?
Right.
Here in North American culture, it's very, in my opinion, for the this might be a controversial thing, but for the goal of safety, we've gone so far for like you can't even bump against somebody, or it could be like an issue,
Right.
like a legal issue. So you can't, people are very scared to touch, and there's no natural touching. There's no, you know what I mean? There's not even any
Right.
eye contact. And I feel like we've gone to the other extreme where we've like completely removed all that and
I agree.
it's brought back. You agree?
Totally agree. Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like that because people have been so traumatized by touch, um, that also feeds kind of like that desire to get away from people just being able to touch you.
Hmm.
I feel like that and I know, and I'm clear that that's why it's, I decided to structure it the way that I did, where it's like consent based, right? You ask people, do they want to touch? If people don't want to touch, if people don't want to participate, if people again just get healing from watching people love on each other, you can do all of that. You don't have to touch. You don't have to participate in any sort of way, and you can choose your level of participation and how you show up. And you're totally 100% in control of that. However, if you're coming, I do encourage you to access the healing that's in the space.
Okay. Okay. So tell me about your musical gifts.
So I sing, I write, I put words together. I love harmonizing. I am one that takes all of these different, like, what may be seemingly inconsequential and innocuous parts of life, and I can just weave them into like a story. I can weave them, like, I can just find words just come to me sometimes, or so that's why I say it's a gift, because like honestly sometimes I'm not even like trying. I'm not, sometimes I'll listen back to things that I said and I'm like, wow, like what was I
Mm,
like, where did I even get that from,
I love that.
or what inspired me. It's like sometimes I'll remember the exact experience that inspired me to write it. So it's almost like having these spools of like yarn, and then just me just weaving it together into something that looks like, a tapestry or a cloth or something like that. And so I kind of think of it in that same way, like, and I think that that's why a lot of things that are artistic are called artistic, because we're taking these vestiges of life and making something else out of it.
Hmm.
And so singing, I'm always like coming up with words, like coming up with melody. I'll be walking down the street at a store somewhere, and I'll see like a shirt. I may be in, a department store or a clothing store, and I see a shirt, and I see a pretty color, and then like something will come to me, like some word or something like that it represents. Like it really just lays in life, in like almost every part of my life, that I'm able to find something that I can use as a muse and create something else with.
So what comes first? Or like, do words come first in a moment such as that, or the sound, the melody? Are you frozen? Okay, so in those moments when you're just walking through life, the day, and something catches your attention, and turns into a song, what comes first for you? Do the lyrics come first, or the melody?
Honestly, it's kind of interchangeable. Sometimes, it's either or.
Okay.
Sometimes if I'm looking at something green, I may like, green is
Mm,
green, and it ain't me, it ain't me. Oh, it is green, it is green, and it could be bleed or something. I don't know. And
nice.
so then, like that, just like literally something like that may come to me, and then I, like have I've been finding too lately that I have like really been missing being around friends who sing, who harmonize,
Mm,
because like then it's like, a whole other thing can happen when somebody who is also gifted is around you and they can catch on and harmonize or add words or whatever. And so yeah, it really again, it's just like this thing. It's like an input that comes in, and then it just like sparks something. And then, like I said, it could be the words. Like, and sometimes it can be like no melody at all. It could just be words, like you said.
mm,
So I could just like get something from seeing something that's a pretty color, and like I could it could maybe spark, my imagination, think of a scene,
mm.
something, and then like I start thinking of words that go with the scene or something. It could happen in a myriad of different ways.
Wow. One thing that we connected on, like one thing that I really liked about you when I first met you was I remember walking down the street of University of Ghana, and you were speaking to me the lyrics of Liz Wright's Trouble.
Yes.
I love this human. Like those were I just like love I love talking about lyrics and like the passion and the way you were like, this is juicy. Um, yeah, shovel in the air. I don't want it, but I got to breathe. It was that like the first
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, that thing almost left up with right now. That's good.
I
That's good.
know. So yeah, though. So okay, so it's interchangeable. See, I have the word side, but I don't have the gift of melody just coming to me like that. So I'm always curious, like how does someone make a song? Um, and
Yeah.
so richly, and you know what I mean? I always wonder how it comes together.
It's usually reflective of a pattern that you've heard a lot in your life. Like music is, of course, like it's a pattern.
Mm,
And
mm,
so even like what I just now sung for you was just like regular blues, right?
mm,
But to a person who doesn't like understand like the
mm.
chord progressions, like it just sounds like I just made up something like, oh, but it really just is, a pattern that I've heard a whole bunch in my
Okay.
life. Coming from a gospel tradition, listen to a lot of blues, it's just easy for my mind to make up words along
Okay.
that like, pattern, or it may be something that is gospely, so it'll be in the pattern,
Right. I
before.
was
I've heard
impressed.
that.
I, for one, was highly impressed. But let's talk. Let's talk more about that because I wanted to ask about the technical side. Is there a technique that has been valuable to your craft?
Absolutely. Um, One thing that and being a baritone, being a lower voiced male, one technique that is really helpful to me is using my falsetto and
Mm,
really, like, I guess playing on the difference in between my natural voice and my falsetto voice because it sounds so different to people. My if I actually sing in my baritone voice, it can sound so heavy to people. Then when I sing in my falsetto voice, it sounds so pretty and airy and light to people. It's like it's just such a difference to people, and it is to me too. So that's one technique that I really draw from because not only is it something that creates a little bit of variation in the song and in the way I'm singing it and the way I'm presenting the song, it also helps to make things a little bit easier sometimes to sing when I'm in that falsetto voice.
okay.
So you think of like really deeper voice males, Prince, D'Angelo, Bilal, like they all have these like really crazy falsettos because that's something that baritones have.
Okay.
So yeah.
Interesting. So, are you? I think I know that self-taught or life-taught, or did you have any instructors?
Mainly life taught. I studied music for 2 years.
Okay.
And then by the time I had gotten to Ghana, I had changed my major to history. So I'd say, some formal training, but mostly just it comes from the family.
Mm,
Yeah.
beautiful. Okay. We're gonna go back. This is gonna be my first question, but we just went deep right away. So we're still on the topic of music. What is a song or a poem that you know all the words to? So obviously not one of yours, but
Yeesh.
I know
That I can say right now.
you don't have to say it, but you can.
Oh.
But just one. I want you to name it though. He's going through the files because there's a
I
lot.
know because I know so many. Okay, I'd say
Anything.
okay. Smoke Gets in Your Eyes, a jazz tune.
Hmm. Would you care to give us a sample?
Oh,
I
you
don't
want me
know.
to sing it or you just want me to say it?
You can sing it. I don't know it, so
Okay. They ask me how I knew my true love was true. I, of course, replied, something here inside cannot be denied. They say one day you'll find all who love are blind. So I'll smile and say, when the lovely flame dies, smoke gets in your eyes.
Gorgeous.
Huh?
Gorgeous. I said that's gorgeous.
Thank you.
And who's that by?
It's a standard. So I was just singing Sarah Vaughan's rendition of it.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's a standard. Everybody sang it.
Oh, yeah, I know, but like,
Yeah, of course. I mean,
I just wonder what version. Okay, everybody is like Jingle Bells.
right. But I guess a lyric that really moves me though. I mean, I just thought of that because it came up. But the lyric that really moves me is the lyrics to either "Sky Black and Blue" by Jackson Brown. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
tell me the lyric. What's the lyric?
and the calling out to one another of the lovers up and down the strand, and the cries of the seagulls and them circling the sand on the fragments of some song carried down the wind on some radio, in the murmuring of the city in the distance, ominous and low. Um, yeah, I hear of the world that we played and the far too simple beauty and the promises we made. But if you ever need holding, call my name and I'll be there. Um, and then he says, where the touch of the lover ends and the soul of a friend begins, there's a need to be separate and a need to be one, and in this struggle, neither wins. Well, you gave me a place, you gave me this world and a place that I can make a stand, but somehow I can never see how you doubted me, but then I let go of your hand.
Okay.
Um, and then the last lyric is he says, you are the color of the sky reflected in each storefront window pane. You're the squealing and the sighing of my tires circling in the rain. You're the hidden cost and the thing that's lost in everything I'll do. But yeah, I'll never stop looking for you.
Beautiful. Like more
Yeah.
than beautiful, but that's the only word I have right now. So I can like go through it, but
Yes, this is like this pinning of the decisions and the agreements that we make to allow somebody to be woven into our lives when we love them, and the risk that we take to allow them to be and to live in these places in life, and we're making these decisions, right? It's like how innocuous is one day we were riding in the rain and I remembered my tires sighing in the rain and you being beside me. And then we're no longer talking, we're no longer together. But then my tires do that again and it reminds me of that moment that we had, right?
mhm.
How beautiful is it to pin how people are woven into the most mundane and inconsequential parts of our lives. And that's what connecting is that they are being attached
Mm,
in our brains to these really just everyday
right,
experiences. And I just love the way he wrote that. Like you're the color that's reflected in each storefront window pane. Like, like you can remember like dating somebody and you're in that honeymoon phase and you're getting to know them and you're loving them and y'all walking down the street and you just see the sky in the storefront window pane,
right.
right? And then you no longer talk to them and then you see it again and it's like I remember them and I remember
Yeah,
that.
it's
You
so
know, like just
specific that it's like it's real, you know?
yes,
And like you
yes.
said, mundane.
Yes, and I love that about Jackson Brown. Like he is able to like write some really it's so mundane that it's almost sacred to me. Like
Yeah.
it's like wow, like how did you pen that specific experience in that just such a poetic way? Like Jackson Brown is like he's definitely one of my favorite writers.
Okay, I'm gonna have to. I don't. I'm gonna. This is my introduction to him, so
Okay.
I'm gonna go look him up.
Yeah.
Okay, so bring me into your immediate world a little bit and tell me something that's happening in your world that has your attention
um
that you can share.
Um, I mean, a lot has my attention. Right now, I'm experiencing a lot of like highs and just like interesting lows, and just like kind of in the middle of it all. So I'd say right now, dating. has my attention. Like, what does it mean for me to actually create family? That
Mm.
really has my attention. And um, you know, some of the what are seemingly travails to getting to that place that I'm experiencing. So that really has my attention right now. Like, and art is being created out of that too. So,
Mm.
um,
Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, good. So I wanted to know as we wrap up what is moving you to create. So I guess that's the answer there. What's moving you to create, and then what is anything on the close to finish side that people can look for or experience?
Absolutely. So that yeah, that will be what is moving me.
Mhm.
It's just this experience of trying to get my needs for connection met in ways that are about kind of exhuming my responsibility to someone else to really soothe and show up for me,
Mhm.
right? Like, so not showing up for myself all the time, but like wanting somebody else to show up for me. And so my experience of awareness of this thing is really causing me to feel more deeply and to create. And so I have an EP that I'm working on right now called, and it's going to be called, the working title is Church. I have about, I'd say about 7 songs that I want to work with.
Mhm.
Um,
I love it.
and I want to whittle it down to 5. I know I'll definitely be using the song Church, and I have this song called Chemistry that I want to use. And it was birthed not too long ago out of this experience that I'm having with dating. And it said, you bring a little, and I'll bring my little, and we'll just meet right here in the middle. What did you come here for? You breathe just a little, and I'll breathe a little, and we'll just meet right here in the middle. What did you come here for? It said, let's create a safe space. Forget the need to save face. Loving each other, come closer and closer in, learn what the other needs, be unafraid to say what we need, forgiving each other over and over, come closer and closer in. And it goes back to the chorus. And so that's like just something that was birthed out of this like dating thing. Just like how do we come to this space to create this chemistry? Like, you bring your little and I'll bring my little, and we'll just meet somewhere in the middle.
I love it.
Yeah.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's gorgeous. So the EP is called Church. Well, working title. So
Working title is Church, yeah.
okay.
It'll more than likely be named Church though, because I wanted to just talk about how we are places of we are sacred places. We
Mm.
are we are vestiges of the great. We are drops of water from the great big ocean, and this is just a reflection of my own personal worldview about how our divinity is stripped away from us, specifically in capitalistic and like state, constructions of society. They're stripped away from us so that we always look to the society to get that need for self-worth met, right? So where do you work, and what type of money do you make, and what school you went to, and what religion you belong to? All of these things are how we are taught and socialized to access a sense of self-worth, which keeps us divided and doing this thing with each other and downing each other, and I'm better than you and all of this
Mm.
stuff, versus like understanding that you are just as sacred as I am because you're created just as I am. And the
Mm.
conditions that came together, the specific and l- likely impossible conditions that came together to create you, I also experienced that, and that is a part of why we're divine. And so church is
Mm.
an ode to that, that like I am a place where the created can be experienced.
Mhm. That's beautiful. Yeah, and the concept of the body as a temple that again we hear, but what is it to live that and think that way of yourself and greet somebody else in that way, you know?
Right.
And I guess the final question is, how does your art, you're answering it, but I want to say it out loud. Like, how does your art live in your body, you know?
Mm,
Because a lot of times we're up here and art, but it's really, you're talking about life and dating and love is that's got to be a feeling. That's got to do something to you, and then you're putting it onto into words. So,
mhm. It- it- that process of being aware and finding things to weave together into a piece of art,
mm,
a part of that process is the emotion, you're right, that's tagged onto it. That's like a part of it, stamped onto it, right? And so it lives in my body, it lives in my hands a lot, right? So like
Mhm.
I clap and I'm like, oh, like when like
Dude.
yeah, when something is good to me, it's like I grab my clothes, it's like I shake my head, I scream. So it literally like that's when I'm inspired, right? So I guess maybe when I am inspired to create, it feels sometimes like sadness.
Mhm.
I think that one of the things that I've learned over the years is that because of my specific experience with growing up and nurturing, I didn't always allow myself to feel the vulnerability that I allow myself to feel now, right? And so I would go to your Cassandra Wilsons and Liz Wrights and Jackson Browns and Jesse Balins, and I would go to the words that they would write that were these, offerings of vulnerability, and just it would just make me feel so open. Like I want to feel like that. I want to say that to somebody. Like Jesse Balin has a song called TikTok, and she was talking about like waiting for somebody to come to a place of like loving you, but you standing in your vulnerability and saying what you want. And she said, I'm ruled by your son who knows if I'll rise. And it's taken me a long time to make this compromise. You know what I wanted, and I wanted it still. Tick tocking of a clock, and I'm still just waiting here. And I remember first hearing it, I was like, I had to pause and I was like, come on, Jesse. You know, um,
Listen,
it just
if you
say,
guys see Raheem, follow him on online because you'll see a lot of this absorption of he show. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. Absorption of songs and the that.
yeah. It just do something to me, Abna. It's like I can't contain it. It's literally like
Mm,
it just like makes me feel like, oh my, it's almost like being in a state of my my mind is blown, and words do that to me. Like sometimes again when people say stuff, I'm just like, where did you get that? Like it's almost like my mind is just like, where it's confounded. Like where did you get that from? And so I used to use music in a way to feel and to kind of like experience that feeling of vulnerability. And I know that like one thing that I believe about humanity is that like we need to feel everything, even if we feel it in a controlled environment. That's why people who, all their needs met, they don't have to experience, like feeling like they don't know where their next meal is coming from, or like real imminent danger in their environment. They like to go and watch scary movies because they need to be scared, but they need to feel it in a controlled environment, right? Because we need all of that, right? And so I used to use music to feel that, and so now it's like I can feel vulnerable in my life, and then I can write a song like Chemistry.
okay, okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
You A, tell people where to find you, like where's the best place to find you, and then B, maybe sing us out with one of your own songs. Let us know.
Okay. You can find me everywhere at Raheem Kashon, RahemKashon, as in Nancy. All one word. You can Google me, and all of the things that I do will come up, even like articles and interviews that I've done. I'm doing Griot's Raid this weekend. If you're in Atlanta, I'll be telling a story and singing a little bit
Mhm.
to wrap it up. And my next Touch initiative is on April 22nd. If you're in Atlanta, you can come out and get loved on by yours truly if you want to, or somebody else in the space. Um, and so, so the singing of this last song, should it be like a cappella or should it be with music?
You have music?
I do have music.
Oh, kind of want a cappella.
You want a cappella?
Yeah.
Okay.
However, how do you think it's going to be delivered best to like through this medium?
We can do a cappella. I mean, I don't, I'm open to that.
Let's do a cappella.
Okay. Um, okay. One of my songs.
I'm
Okay.
turning my camera off whenever you're ready.
Okay. My heart stands still like silence You move inside like sound does, like the mountains. I'm surrounded, so glad to be found here. Hands on places that need it. Broken places get healing. I receive it and I feel it. So glad to be in your presence. 'Cause in your presence there's healing. Oh, how you see me right here, no fear. It's beautiful how you see me. There's nothing that's missing or broken. You said go on and be yourself. It ain't got to pain you. Learn to dance in rain. I'm waiting to be supporting anytime life pains you. You can hold my hand. I want them always to show me underneath it, they know me. And even with my cold feet, oh, they yeah, always be there to hold me, always there to console me. I'm right here. In your presence, there's healing in. Oh, how you see me. No fear right here. Yeah. It's beautiful how you see me. There's nothing that's missing or broken. Yeah. You said go on and be yourself. It ain't got to pain you. Learn to dance in rain. I'm willing to be your support anytime life pains you. You can hold my hand. Oh, 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 oh. I give myself permission to be me. Oh, 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 oh. I give myself permission to be me. Oh.
That was an exclusive, okay? Aren't you glad you took it? An exclusive by Raheem Kashon. I don't want to say too much on top of that. Raheem, thank you so much.
Thanks for
Love you.
having me, Helena. Love you too.